When David's father answers the door, police tell him that they're responding to a 911 call that came in about a shooting and a dead body at this home.
Armed officers storm a quiet Houston home, warning of a shooting and a body inside. But this wasn't a crime scene. It was the parents of chart-topping artist David. What they didn't know then is that this raid would ignite a nationwide firestorm of suspicion and fear. Swatting gone wrong. The story begins in Houston, Texas, September 18, 2025, just 10 days after the Los Angeles Police Department confirmed the decomposed remains of 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez were found in a Tesla registered to singer David Burke. With the national media locked onto the developing death investigation, a new flashpoint emerged. Armed officers, responding to what they believed was a genuine emergency, descended on the suburban family home of Burke's parents. The event was later confirmed to be an instance of swatting, the increasingly common act of calling in a false report of a violent crime to provoke a militarized police response. But in real time, it unfolded with the same intensity as an actual FBI raid.
Some video has emerged of a police encounter involving David's family, who live back in Texas, where David grew up. This happened September 18th. In a suburb of Houston.
The footage, published by TMZ, shows multiple law enforcement officers approaching the Burke residence with weapons drawn. They announced themselves, prepared for the possibility of armed confrontation inside.
The footage, acquired by TMZ, shows officers approaching David's family home with their guns drawn.
The responding officers had been dispatched based on a 911 call claiming a shooting and a dead body were at the Burke residence. That allegation, though entirely fabricated, forced the deployment of armed units and the invocation of federal interest. When David's father answered the door, confused but cooperative, he was told officers were responding to the anonymous report. His mother soon joined, both parents bewildered at the situation. Officers explained that someone had called 911 using an out-of-state number, tricking emergency dispatch into linking the call's location to their Houston address.
Like they said, nothing happened here. She shut the door, now she's calling 911. It ain't on their phone.
And this is not a Texas.
Yeah, it's an out-of-state number.
Someone's messing with us.
This detail confirmed the call was spoofed, a hallmark of swatting campaigns. Because dispatch systems rely on cell tower pings and caller ID traces, the fabricated report had still routed directly to Houston law enforcement. For the Burke family, it was an intrusion into what should have been private mourning and crisis management. Their son's career had collapsed in real time under the weight of scrutiny after Celeste's body was found, his tour canceled, his Hollywood Hills rental searched by LAPD, and his management forced to terminate leases. Now their home itself had become the stage for the next escalation. Swatting. Incidents have plagued public figures for over a decade, targeting Twitch streamers, musicians, journalists, and political figures. In the most notorious cases, victims have been injured or killed when heavily armed police stormed homes under false pretenses. Federal law classifies swatting under statutes covering false information and hoaxes, 18 U.S. Code Section 1038, often prosecuted as terrorism-related if interstate calls are used. The Burke swatting followed the standard escalation chain. A fraudulent report was made to 911 dispatch, alleging homicide at the family home. Dispatch then flagged the address as high priority, sending armed officers. The fact that federal interest was quickly attached stemmed from the ongoing LAPD death investigation and Burke's public profile as a celebrity. In Houston, officers arrived expecting worst-case scenarios. The body cam and witness footage showed them maneuvering tactically, covering each other and instructing residents to remain calm while the scene was verified.
Ma'am, we gotta figure out what's going on so we can leave, okay?
After confirming no crime had taken place, they stayed less than 20 minutes before clearing the scene. No arrests were made, and David himself was not present. The term FBI raid spread across social media within hours. While technically this incident began with Houston area police, federal agencies often provide oversight or subsequent investigative jurisdiction in swatting cases, especially when interstate spoofed calls are involved. In this case, officials acknowledged the out-of-state caller ID, immediately raising the likelihood of federal follow-up. More importantly, the Burke case was already interstate in nature. The LAPD investigation in California, the artist touring in Minnesota and New York, his parents in Texas, and the use of telecom spoofing across state lines. That combination almost guaranteed FBI jurisdiction. Fans online debated whether the raid meant Burke himself was being pursued as a suspect in Celeste's death. Law enforcement statements, however, consistently clarified that he has not been named a suspect or person of interest. Instead, the swatting underscored the dangers of speculation and vigilante vigilante behavior. The swatting footage itself went viral within hours. Shared across Instagram, X, and YouTube, the video was parsed frame by frame. Viewers noted the moment Burke's parents, confused, attempted to close their front door only to reopen it when officers insisted on verifying the scene.
What? I'm serious. That's why we came up here like this, because and then they talked to the caller. Whoever they were talking to said that there's a person dead.
For the Burkes, the incident was destabilizing. It compounded the grief and chaos already surrounding the family since Celeste's remains were discovered. For online communities, it became fuel, evidence to some, of law enforcement's heightened suspicion toward Burke, even though the raid was in reality a false alarm engineered by anonymous actors. The broader media connected the swatting to the spiraling public fixation on Burke's unreleased demos, especially the Celeste track, which had leaked days earlier. Lyrics describing obsession with a girl named Celeste, recorded months before her disappearance, became central to conspiracy narratives online. The swatting, therefore, was interpreted less as an isolated prank and more as part of the escalating war between internet speculation, law enforcement action, and Burke's private life. To understand why swatting Burke's parents was so explosive, it must be situated within the timeline of events already dominating headlines. On September 8, 2025, Celeste's decomposed remains were discovered in the front trunk of a Tesla registered to Burke. Police described her condition as severely decomposed, weighing just 71 pounds at discovery, wrapped in plastic. The Tesla had been impounded after a parking violation in Hollywood Hills. The LAPD executed a search warrant on Burke's Hollywood Hills rental between September 17, 18, seizing electronics. That raid coincided almost exactly with the Houston swatting, intensifying confusion about multiple simultaneous law enforcement actions. At the time of the Houston incident, Burke had already canceled the remainder of his US and European tour, vacated his Los Angeles rental, and faced cascading loss of endorsements. The leaked Celeste demo, with its references to tattoos and obsession, had gone viral only hours before the LAPD confirmed Celeste's identity. Against this backdrop, swatting his parents' home appeared to casual observers as a federal move against the singer himself, rather than what it truly was, a malicious hoax exploiting public confusion. This was not the first time swatting targeted a high-profile musician. Rappers, DJs, and YouTubers have all been victims of the tactic, especially amid scandals. What distinguished Burke's case was its overlap with an active death investigation and the presence of a deceased minor. Swatters, motivated by clout, political grievances, or malicious humor, often timed their calls for maximum media attention. Targeting Burke's family during the peak of speculation guaranteed nationwide coverage. It weaponized both public anger and law enforcement urgency. Within hours, hashtags pairing #JusticeForCeleste with #FreeDavid trended on X. Some fans claimed the raid confirmed guilt, others saw it as harassment. The LAPD reiterated in late September. The investigation remained a death inquiry, not yet classified as homicide, pending toxicology. Yet the swatting blurred public perception, turning a non-suspect into the perceived subject of an FBI manhunt. For the Burke family, the event was more than procedural. Having armed agents surround their home based on a lie magnified the psychological toll of the previous weeks. For the public, it reinforced the theme of spectacle, the conflation of celebrity scandal with crime drama. Fans dissected each clip: Burke's father's confusion, his mother's visible distress, the officer's tactical commands. That exchange, meant to explain basic dispatch mechanics, became symbolic of the disconnect between digital manipulation and real-world violence. A fake number, a spoofed call, and within minutes, a suburban family was facing rifles. By the end of September 18th, it was clear the Houston swatting had not produced arrests or charges, but its ripple effects were enormous. It cemented Burke as not only the subject of a Los Angeles death investigation, but now also a victim of federal-level digital harassment. The public conflation of LAPD raids and Houston swats created the appearance of a nationwide manhunt. Online, fans merged the two narratives, assuming the FBI had raided the Burke home in coordination with LAPD homicide detectives. The truth was more prosaic. LAPD pursued forensic evidence in California. Houston police responded to a false 911 call. The FBI monitored both because interstate lines had been crossed. Yet perception matters more than procedure in an age of viral media. For Burke's career, this was devastating. Headlines of FBI raid drowned out clarifications. His silence, no public statement since mid-September, only deepened speculation. Who killed Celeste? The investigation into Celeste Rivas Hernandez's death began with a discovery that was both grisly and profoundly confusing. A decomposed body in the trunk of a Tesla impounded in Hollywood, Los Angeles on September 8, 2025.
A grisly discovery in Los Angeles has led to a police investigation on the West Coast. Authorities say they were called to an impound lot in Hollywood after someone noticed a foul odor coming from a car. Once inside, they discovered a decomposing body wrapped in plastic.
The vehicle, a black 2023 Tesla, had been towed from a Hollywood Hills street after sitting for days with parking violations. It was registered in Texas to David Anthony Burke, known worldwide as David, the 20-year-old singer-songwriter behind viral tracks Romantic Homicide and Here With Me. Within days, the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner identified the body as 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, a missing girl from Lake Elsinore, California. She had been reported missing multiple times in 2024, often leaving home amid family difficulties and returning after short periods. Police records showed at least 11 calls to her home before her final disappearance. Her remains weighed only 71 pounds, wrapped in a black plastic bag, with decomposition indicating death had occurred several weeks earlier, possibly summer 2025. She had no signs of pregnancy, trauma, or immediate foul play. Toxicology tests were ordered to determine cause. At a vigil held on September 28th in Lake Elsinore, her community remembered her as vibrant, shy, and an aspiring artist. On September 17th, 2025, LAPD's Robbery Homicide Division executed a search warrant at a $5 million Hollywood Hills rental on Doheny Drive, where Burke had been staying. The lease was under his manager, John Marshall's name. Police seized electronics, computers, and personal belongings. The raid produced viral images of LAPD investigators removing bags from the home, feeding speculation that Burke was implicated. Official statements stressed otherwise. No suspects or persons of interest had been named. The LAPD classified the case as a death inquiry pending toxicology, not a homicide. During these developments, Burke canceled the remainder of his Withered World Tour, including major US and European dates. Venues in Los Angeles and San Francisco announced abrupt cancellations without explanation. Fans interpreted this as confirmation of legal jeopardy. By September 25th, Burke and his management terminated the Hollywood Hills lease and vacated the residence. The landlord later stated he had been unaware the singer lived there, calling the revelations completely surprising. This vacuum, no statements from Burke, no charges filed, no cause of death determined, left space for speculation. Into that void, leaked demos and unreleased lyrics surfaced online. On September 17th, 2025, hours after Celeste's remains were publicly identified, an unreleased Burke track titled Celeste_Demo Unfin began circulating on SoundCloud, Discord, and YouTube. The song, recorded in December 2023, months before Celeste's final disappearance, is an obsessive indie pop ballad. Oh, Celeste, the girl with my name tattooed on her chest. Smell her on my clothes like cigarettes. I hear her voice each time I take a breath. I'm obsessed. Afraid you'll only love me when undressed. Missing you so much makes me depressed. The tattoo reference echoed reports of Celeste's distinctive shh tattoo. The leak fueled immediate speculation that the song referenced Celeste Rivas Hernandez directly. Her mother had previously told media her daughter dated a David before disappearing. Photos surfaced online appearing to show the two together near her Lake Elsinore home, with friends recalling Celeste had been introduced as 19 despite being 14-15. While no official link was established, the timing of the leak, the same day the medical examiner confirmed her identity, magnified suspicions. Further unreleased material emerged in September 2025, each dissected for parallels to Celeste's story. A verse from an alternate demo of Romantic Homicide. I thought you said that you didn't want no kids, and then you lie to my face and say it is what it is. Fans speculated this reference to pregnancy, though the autopsy confirmed Celeste was not pregnant. Snippets from a track titled Notes from a Wrist, Run Away from Home, All in the Name of Love, See, Run Into My Loving Arms, and Why Am I So Afraid, interpreted as mirroring Celeste's repeated runaways. A demo called New Seats, Got Time to Cull, We Got Blood to Spill, all over the new car seats that I'm sleeping on. Post-discovery, fans tied this to the Tesla where her body was found. Each track predated September 2025, but took on new resonance amid the investigation. Burke's 2022 breakout hit, Romantic Homicide, was also reframed by the case. The song's lyrics, In the back of my mind you died, and I didn't even cry, were interpreted by some as eerily prophetic. In a 2022 Genius Verified interview, Burke explained the song was metaphorical, born of heartbreak, not literal violence. He described killing a partner in the back of his mind as a poetic device.
So what inspired the hook, In the Back of My Mind You Died, is kind of like the storytelling aspect of the lyrics that came before it, in a way that it builds up to the big moment where she died in the back of my mind. Like, I didn't kill her physically, but in the back of my mind, she died.
Despite these clarifications, the alignment of lyrics, leaks, and the discovery of a body in his car blurred the line between art and reality. Viral threads framed Romantic Homicide as a confession track. The Los Angeles Times noted the official death certificate listed September 8, 2025 as the discovery date, but left cause and manner of death deferred. Community activists accused police of moving too slowly, pointing to Celeste's repeated missing person reports and her vulnerable status as a runaway minor. Celeste's brother, Matthew Rivas, spoke publicly about the family's grief, urging justice and clarity. A funeral was scheduled for October 4th, 2025 in Lake Elsinore. Her mother reiterated claims that Celeste had been involved with a David, though she did not confirm it was Burke. At vigils, Celeste was described as sweet, gentle, and artistic. Neighbors recalled her as shy, mirroring those around her. The community demanded accountability from both authorities and figures linked to her disappearance. As of October 2nd, 2025, no charges or arrests had been made. Still, the fallout was immediate. Tour cancellations across North America and Europe. Collaborations pulled by artists like Kali Uchis, who removed joint tracks from streaming services. Endorsements lost, stalling momentum after Burke's high-profile 2024 performances. Social media backlash, with hashtags like #JusticeForceLess dominating X and TikTok. The blurred narrative led to vigilante action, including the Houston swatting incident of Burke's parents on September 18th. Online communities conflated LAPD raids with FBI operations, interpreting federal jurisdiction as confirmation of guilt. Fan sleuths dissected cover art, metadata, and even background figures in Burke's leaked demos. Reddit and Discord threads cross-referenced timelines, pointing out that Burke's romantic homicide video released on September 7, 2022, Celeste's birthday, and framing it as intentional. Activist Charleston White defended Burke online, arguing no evidence tied him to the death. Others dismissed this as deflection. The collision of grief, conspiracy, and celebrity scandal generated what NBC called a Netflix-ready story unfolding in real time, from rapid fame to infamy. Before the headlines shifted to investigations, swatting raids, and leaked demos, David Anthony Burke, better known as David, stood as one of the brightest breakout stars in Gen Z music culture. His ascent from recording in his sister's Houston closet to charting globally epitomized the new digital pipeline: TikTok virality, YouTube traction, and streaming dominance. Born in 2005 in Queens, New York, and raised in Houston, Texas, Burke began experimenting with music during the COVID-19 pandemic. With limited resources, he downloaded the BandLab app, layering vocals and instrumentals using only a headset microphone. This DIY approach gave his early songs a lo-fi, raw quality that resonated with audiences seeking authenticity. His breakout came in July 2022 with the release of Romantic Homicide. Uploaded first to YouTube and TikTok, the song rapidly went viral for its melancholic atmosphere, blunt title, and haunting chorus. In the back of my mind, you died, and I didn't even cry. By August 2022, Romantic Homicide was trending in thousands of TikTok edits, used in relationship montages, breakup videos, and cinematic fan edits. In September 2022, the song debuted on the Billboard Hot 100, eventually peaking at #33. On Spotify, the track climbed to hundreds of millions of streams, eventually surpassing 900 million by 2024. The minimalist black and white music video, directed with stark visuals of Burke staring into the camera, cemented the track as a viral anthem. Critics described it as a Gen Z torch song for heartbreak, and noted its unusual honesty compared to the polished gloss of mainstream pop. Riding the momentum, Burke released Here With Me in November 2022. Softer, more intimate, and structured as a love ballad, it demonstrated his versatility. The track reached #65 on the Billboard Hot 100 and dominated TikTok trends as couples used it in wedding and engagement montages. By 2023, Here With Me had crossed 600 million streams on Spotify. Critics praised it as an antidote to the darkness of Romantic Homicide, showing Burke could craft both anguish and tenderness. Together, the two songs established Burke not as a one-hit wonder, but as a voice with emotional range and an instinct for cultural timing. Burke's early catalog revolved around themes of obsession, heartbreak, and alienation. Unlike mainstream pop that polished love into aspirational gloss, his songs dwelled in raw discomfort. Romantic Homicide represented detachment and numbness. Here With Me embodied yearning and intimacy. Petals to Thorns symbolized the beauty and pain of love. This thematic duality, pain and tenderness, numbness and longing, resonated deeply with Gen Z audiences navigating digital age relationships. Fans created millions of TikTok videos pairing his songs with hyper-emotional imagery, from anime clips to cinematic edits. By 2024, outlets like Billboard, Rolling Stone, and Pitchfork acknowledged Burke as a rising voice. Rolling Stone described him as the quiet storm of Gen Z pop. His ability to blend indie rock, R&B, and bedroom pop elements drew comparisons to Frank Ocean, The Weeknd, and Clairo. Yet his lo-fi origins gave him an outsider authenticity. In interviews, Burke highlighted his unconventional journey. I made music in a closet with no equipment. The songs weren't supposed to blow up. They were just feelings I needed to get out. By mid-2025, Burke stood poised to cross fully into the mainstream. Collaborations with established stars were planned. His Withered World Tour aimed to expand his audience beyond TikTok and streaming fandom. Labels prepared to capitalize on his momentum with deluxe releases and global rollouts. But that trajectory was interrupted by the events of September 2025. The discovery of Celeste Rivas Hernandez's body, the LAPD raid, the Houston swatting, and the leaks of demos transformed his narrative overnight. Instead of being remembered as the artist who redefined lo-fi heartbreak for Gen Z, Burke became entangled in a true crime spectacle. His earlier triumphs, Romantic Homicide, Here With Me, Petals to Thorns, remain as a stark contrast to the scandal that followed, a reminder of how quickly fame can shift from celebration to suspicion. The story of David Burke, Celeste Rivas Hernandez, and the Houston swatting incident has unfolded as one of the most chaotic cultural spectacles of 2025. What began as a tragic discovery in Los Angeles, a decomposed 15-year-old found in a Tesla registered to the rising pop star, spiraled into overlapping crises, a death investigation with no suspects, leaked demos suggesting obsession, a tour collapse, and finally, a swatting at his parents' home that blurred fiction and reality. On September 8, 2025, Celeste's body was discovered in the frunk of Burke's Tesla. By September 17th, LAPD executed a search warrant at his Hollywood Hills rental. On September 18th, Houston police, responding to a hoax call of a shooting and a body, stormed his parents' home with guns drawn. Though the incidents were unrelated in origin, their timing created the perception of a coordinated nationwide manhunt. For law enforcement, the facts remained clear. Celeste's cause of death was undetermined pending toxicology, no suspect was named, and the swatting was a malicious hoax exploiting interstate spoofing. But for the public, perception dominated. Viral footage of police at the Burke home fused with leaked demos like Celeste and reinterpreted hits like Romantic Homicide, transforming music into supposed evidence. The fallout was immediate. Burke's Withered World Tour collapsed. Collaborations dissolved, streaming platforms removed projects tied to his name. His silence, no statement since mid-September, deepened suspicion. Meanwhile, Celeste's community grieved. Vigils, her October 4th funeral, and activism calling for justice for vulnerable runaways. The Houston swatting illustrated the peril of digital vigilantism. In minutes, an anonymous caller weaponized police against a grieving family, demonstrating how celebrity scandals can metastasize into real-world danger. In the US, swatting has already claimed lives. In this case, it nearly added another layer of tragedy. Culturally, the saga revealed fault lines. Fans demanded justice for Celeste, while others defended Burke as a victim of projection. Media outlets warned against trial by TikTok. Yet the narrative persisted. An ambiguous death, an artist with lyrics interpreted as confessions, and a family caught in the crossfire. By October 2025, the central questions remained unanswered. Why was Celeste in Burke's Tesla? Who placed her there? What did the toxicology reveal? Until those answers arrive, speculation will dominate, and Burke's career, once poised for longevity, remains suspended in silence. The case stands as a cautionary tale. It underscores the danger of equating art with autobiography, the failures of systems meant to protect runaway youth, and the growing threat of swatting as a weaponized form of harassment. Above all, it shows how in the age of viral culture, tragedy becomes narrative, and narrative becomes reality. For Celeste's family, it is not a spectacle but a loss. For Burke's, it is not just scandal but fear. And for the public, it is a reminder that behind every headline, raid, or lyric lies a truth far more complex than the feed suggests. Thanks for watching. Check out other cards on the screen.